She's ready for the world. Is the world ready for Raquel?
This is Raquel Welch.
Do you know that saying, all men, and I guess all women, are created equal? They never saw Raquel Welch. Who could equal her great looks, perfect body, and sizzling sex appeal? Her sultry manner made her the worldwide sex symbol of the 60s.
Et oui, c'est elle, Raquel Welch, qui glana en une année la couverture de 92 magazines européens.
And Raquel quickly became a high-paid cover girl. The Europeans called her the new Venus. All told, she appeared on 92 magazine covers in Europe alone.
All that publicity rebounded to the United States, where Europe's newest sex symbol became America's newest sex symbol.
Qui fut célèbre avant même que le public ait pu l'admirer dans un de ses films.
This must be personally for you very trying. I mean, after all, in the very beginning days of your career, you sold yourself not really as an actress. You sold yourself as a sex commodity.
I didn't sell myself, Rona. The producers and the media sold me. They're the people that sell.
But you allowed it to happen. You allowed it to perpetuate. You saw it as a way in which to make a name for yourself.
To happen. I certainly allowed it to happen. It was the avenue of my opportunity. And I wasn't about ready to question it and try to go back to the womb and start over again, you know. I mean, that would have been foolhardy.
But Raquel, in the 60s, all the posters, all the magazine covers, the height of the sex symbol business, how did you feel about yourself then?
There's a lot of heat, you know. It's just very simply, a lot of people looking at you. You're not used to it. You've asked for the attention in some way. You've said, look, I want to be in the public eye, want to be an actress. And now everybody's looking at you and saying things about you. You just get, you know, you just get like that. And you try to put on this, you try to fake it at that point, and you're not able to carry it off because you really don't know how to supersede the simple
that
just
everybody's
shaking.
Looking and looking at the
Yes,
body.
that's all.
Giunge a Roma Raquel Welch, l'ultima novità di Hollywood. Raquel possiede qualità nascoste tali da far prevedere, adesso che l'hanno scoperta, una bruciante carriera. Al contrario di Ursula Andress, che fu scoperta solo dopo alcuni anni, Raquel è stata scoperta subito, fin dal primo film intitolato 1.000.000 di anni avanti Cristo, nel quale appariva nelle vesti, si fa per dire, di figlia di Eva. Scoperta nella preistoria a Hollywood, Raquel ha deciso, e non a caso, di trasferirsi a Roma, dove il suo personaggio storico corre ben pochi rischi di essere danneggiato e travolto dalla civiltà e dal progresso.
Coming up this Friday night, a look at the multifaceted career of Raquel Welch from movies.
We start with a woman whose name has become synonymous with the sex goddess of the silver screen. She's Raquel Welch, and in addition to her image and her reputation as a sex goddess and the most beautiful and sensual actress in our country, she's a real person. And I really think that tonight we'll get to know her better. We'll get a better idea of what this very talented lady is all about.
Hi, I'm Jay Levine. We have a very special Friday night for you tonight, an exclusive interview with Raquel Welch, a woman whose name has been synonymous with sex, a woman who, despite women's liberation, has never apologized for that image as a sex symbol, yet a woman who has prolonged the mystique, the fantasy many had for her, by never taking off her clothes in front of a camera. Her fame as a sex symbol is so widespread that all you have to do is say Raquel, and everyone knows who you're talking about. Well, believe it or not, Raquel Welch is turning 40. How much longer will she be able to reign as America's leading sex symbol? We'll talk about that and much more.
I still want to hear about the men. You spent a lot of time with some very, very handsome leading men.
Elvis Presley.
Well, yeah, but I had nothing to do in that part.
But
I was just gaga because he'd been my first big heartthrob when I was a teenager.
Sure.
Growing up at 13. It was
Right.
like, I had
So did he
all his
flirt with you?
records.
Did
At
he-
45,
Right.
Le premier film de Raquel, même si on l'avait déjà aperçu au début de Rostabout, L'homme à tout faire avec Elvis. Elle n'est pas marquée au générique, mais elle a quand même une réplique.
How come they call this place a tea house, dear?
Et vous appelez ça un salon de thé, mon ami. Alors pourquoi avoir choisi A Swinging Summer alors qu'il ne contient même pas le mot bikini dans son titre? Eh bien parce qu'on s'est dit, tiens, il y a Raquel Welch dedans et en bikini. Un bikini jaune, comme souvent, parce qu'elle trouvait que ça lui allait bien au teint. Swinging Summer serait un bon début, mais à condition qu'elle y porte son bikini jaune, même que d'après les souvenirs d'une de ses partenaires, elle a vraiment fait pression pour ça. Raquel joue le rôle de l'apprenti psychanalyste à lunettes qui détermine par la méthode adéquate qui sera son petit ami de l'été, mais le coupable désigné, joué par Manuel Valls, préfère s'enfuir. Quant à l'histoire, sachez que, en dehors de l'intellectuel à lunettes qui se dessale à la toute fin du film, Raquel Welch se rappellera des souvenirs dans les maisons de retraite évoquées plus tôt. Et ça nous permettra d'appeler la chronique « Vous connaissez A Swinging Summer avec Raquel Welch ?» Même si, d'accord, c'est un peu une escroquerie, puisqu'elle n'y apparaît que 10 minutes en tout. Quoiqu'à la sortie du film en Italie, sous le titre La Calda Notte, la nuit chaude, ils ne se sont pas gênés puisqu'ils ont mis Raquel tout en haut.
Prior to Fantastic Voyage, Raquel Welch's biggest role had been as one of the girls in a beach party imitation movie called A Swingin' Summer.
And next thing I knew, they were putting me in a Deb Star kind of a special that they did. Actresses that were all trying and all wanted to get a chance. And it seemed like some of them were they were being ruthless with themselves. They would do anything to get there. They didn't see the difference between the real work around the edges and the people who would sort of always hand you a line and say, hey, you know, I can get you, that sort of thing.
The Deb Star TV special introduced home audiences to Hollywood's up-and-coming actresses.
She was put under contract at Fox after being discovered at a beauty contest by producer Saul David's wife. Raquel Welch, in her first major role, became a sex symbol.
One of the most famous models and most Raquel Welch in a bathing suit or something of that sort. She's in the film, and that's quite a little added attraction.
What's she doing
to her? I think she's posing for Salvador Dali. You have to see a touch of that film to get some of his quirkiness.
Fantastic Voyage has a terrific cast. There's Stephen Boyd and Raquel Welch in the movie that made her a big star. 20th Century Fox took a chance and signed Welch to play the leading female role in Fantastic Voyage as technician Cora Peterson.
Fantastic Voyage was the original idea and story of Otto Clement and Jerome Bixby, who then sold it to 20th Century Fox, who would later announce the film as the most expensive science fiction film ever made.
Fantastic Voyage, it's an interesting picture of makes you think about inner space, and because we're so wrapped up with outer space now, but inner space, you know how interesting that is. And there's just as much inner space as there is outer space. And to go through the human body and see how wonderful it is and what a miracle the whole thing is, how it works. It was very intriguing. Of course, we did it in rather broad strokes, but nevertheless, I was hoping that it would interest young people in the majesty of the human body and see really what a miracle it is that the whole thing works the way it works, that it works at all, is fabulous.
Fantastic Voyage, made in 1966, was one of the most groundbreaking films of its time. Fantastic Voyage was a breakthrough in effects and production design, and the film is a lot of fun to watch. It has made quite an impact in science fiction since its release, influencing a number of filmmakers.
Fantastic Voyage.
Hollywood greeted her with open arms. The public went wild.
Here's beautiful Raquel Welch. Gold pajamas.
So it's time to announce our home for our first little orphan Oscar. Here's a new star in the celluloid sky, a heavenly body that made the Fantastic Voyage from small parts to leading roles. Her name is Raquel Welch, and she's here to help that engaging young leading man, Dean Jones, present our first Oscar.
Raquel, will you begin, please?
Certainly. We're honored to present the award for the best achievement in sound. The nominations are Gambit, Universal City Studio Sound Department.
Grand Prix, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studio Sound Department.
Hawaii, Samuel Goldwyn Studio Sound Department.
The Sand Pebbles, 20th Century Fox Studio Sound Department.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Warner Brothers Studio Sound Department.
I tell you, Raquel, I'll open the envelope and you read the winner, all right? My eyes are busy.
Oh. The winner is Metro Goldwyn Mayer Studio Sound Department for Grand Prix.
Thank you very much.
Special effects for Fantastic Voyage were so good that they won an Academy Award in 1967.
And the winner is Art Cruikshank for Fantastic Voyage.
Thank you, Academy.
In addition to winning the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, Fantastic Voyage also won for Best Art Direction. There were also nominations for Best Cinematography, Editing, and Sound Effects. The film eventually became so popular it inspired a novel by Isaac Asimov based on Harry Kleiner's original screenplay.
For its release, Fantastic Voyage needed to earn about $9.4 million to break even, but sadly the film only made almost $8.9 million, so the film made a loss. But the film received mainly positive reviews, with one critic saying the lavish production, boasting some brilliant special effects and superior creative efforts, is an entertaining, enlightening excursion through inner space. The New York Times wrote, "Yes, sir, for straight science fiction, this is quite a film." They received a photo spread, an article in Life magazine. Since 1984, there have been many discussions and plans for a sequel or remake.
For several years in Hollywood, there's been talk of a sequel or a remake, most notably a project by director James Cameron, who even had a working script in development. Cameron eventually abandoned the project to focus on a little film called Avatar. Guillermo del Toro, the Oscar-winning director of The Shape of Water from 2017, is the most recent filmmaker to toy with the idea of another Fantastic Voyage.
Raquel Welch, Woody Allen, and Ursula Andress. The exquisite Raquel Welch.
I was a kind of an anecdote to the over-vulnerability of, let's say, a Marilyn Monroe, who was so hypnotically fascinating in her helplessness. And I just think that I didn't represent helplessness.
Fox's decision paid off, and overnight, Raquel Welch became one of the biggest sex symbols in the movies, particularly after she followed this movie up by wearing nothing but a deerskin bikini in 1 Million Years BC.
Starring in the film 1 Million Years BC, that same year.
Raquel was just an innocent, struggling actress when she was cast as Queen of the Shell People in the surprise hit 1 Million Years BC.
When I was offered the part in those years ago, in 1 Million Years BC, I thought it was going to be a movie that disappeared.
It's a role that's not exactly her favorite.
When I found out what it was, I thought, I don't even want to do this. This sounds hokey and bad and tacky and horrible. But I got to go to London, and it was like in the middle 60s, you know, middle of the 60s, and everything was happening. All the huge music explosion and the cinema explosion, and I just thought, oh, I'd like to be there. And they'll never remember this film anyway. I mean, you know, it'll be gone. Like, I could sweep this under the carpet from all visibility.
The perfect sexy beauty, an image that Welch unapologetically and thankfully used to bolster her career.
I mean, I thought it was going to be one of those little dinosaur epics that would be swept under the carpet. I mean, who knew that
they were gonna, people were going to go, oh my God, you know.
With 1 million years BC earning a box office bonanza, Raquel's star status was assured.
This girl's got a bod, and oh, she's like that, and terrific. I was real excited and thrilled to have the opportunity to work in film.
Aujourd'hui, Raquel Welch fait son apparition sur les écrans parisiens. Son premier film s'intitule 1 milliard d'années avant Jésus-Christ. Il a été réalisé par Don Chaffee et nous transporte dans la préhistoire, au milieu de dinosaures et diplodocus. Raquel, bien entendu, a pour seul vêtement une jupette en peau de bison. Les interprètes ne parlent pas, ils grognent. Raquel, elle aussi, ne s'exprime que par onomatopée. Pour nous, heureusement, la nouvelle plus belle fille du monde a retrouvé la parole.
Role in the prehistoric fantasy film 1 million years BC, but it was what she was wearing, not what she was saying, that got our attention.
La piel morena de Raquel Welch y el bikini prehistórico que la cubría quedaron grabados en las retinas de los espectadores cuando se estrenó hace 1 million de años.
Même si dans 1 million d'années avant Jésus-Christ, il était en peau de bête, ce qui n'était au fond pas très commode pour un bikini. Mais au moins, c'est robuste.
The lasting impact of the movie, 1 million years BC, wasn't the plot, the special effects, or the acting.
En aquel momento Raquel tenía 26 años de edad y su exótica belleza la convirtió de inmediato en un sex symbol mundial. De hecho, este legendario póster de Raquel, con su bikini de la Edad de Piedra, está considerado el póster más vendido de la historia. Y recuerden además que era uno de los pósters que decoraban la celda de Tim Robbins en la película Cadena Perpetua.
En la cárcel, un hombre hace lo que sea para tener la mente ocupada. En 1966, en la época en la que Tommy se preparaba para los exámenes, la chica del momento era Raquel.
This pinup of Raquel Welch in a fur figure-hugging bikini, an enduring image that played a key role in a movie that was made almost 30 years later.
And that cupcake on the wall. Let's ask her. Maybe she knows. What's saying there, Fussy Britches?
There is an image, Raquel. I guess it was from the BC movie.
Yes, 1 million years BC.
1 million years BC.
Which took place in 1 million years BC.
But isn't it? There's an indelible image of you in that mink bikini. Was it?
Sort of loincloth affair.
Of a woman who was 6'8" and ready to tackle the world.
Yeah, indomitable.
Indomitable,
yeah. Woman, whatever, superwoman, all of these things. What was fun?
During the next 2 years, she landed some bit parts, finally starring in this monster flick, 1 million BC. In the whole film, she says only 3 words.
Her 3 lines of dialogue, but her voluptuous figure that shot Raquel Welch to instant stardom when she appeared in the 1966 movie 1 million years BC. And Welch embraced that status as iconic Hollywood sex symbol ever since.
So even though I may not have been spouting a lot of dialogue or doing Medea, I think that people got the idea that I was, you know, not a little bauble that was a pushover.
It was 30 years ago that Raquel Welch took over where Marilyn Monroe left off as America's sex symbol. Today, still looking gorgeous at 58 years of age, the recently married mother of 2 now spends much of her time working out of her Beverly Hills mansion. We caught up with Raquel in her new home, while she happened to be in a somewhat reflective mood.
Well, I really kind of grew up on the old-time movie star myths, and I always felt that Hollywood and movies were about creating fantasies and things that you couldn't see every day. I liked this glamour thing, and then when I came to Hollywood, it was really basically not a glamorous era at all, so I was sort of waving the flag of glamour, and everybody was saying, you're a sex object, you're a sellout, you know, you're not a good role model for women.
How hard did you have to work, or maybe even fight, to get people to realize that you were indeed smart as well as being sexy?
It's annoying, and, you know, I guess Everybody has to win their stripes, though, you know, everybody. There's no easy way. I think it maybe looks easy sometimes if you have some of the physical attributes, but it's not really easier. A lot of things are made to look very easy, you know, and they're much tougher than people think until they try them themselves.
It isn't that what you did takes no talent, because if it didn't, then millions of girls would have succeeded who are, if you forgive me, as attractive as you are. Well, I wouldn't say millions, but perhaps.
Well,
you know,
plenty of people on this block anyway, right?
Yeah.
You think this is easy? You try it. You put on the little loin-skin bikini and be out here and see if you can make this thing look like anything. It might look simple, but it's not what you think. For some reason, I had the feeling that I had, you know, done something terribly wrong by showing off my figure. And I always thought I was such a terrible prude. If I ever really made a hot movie, you know, I don't know what the hell they'd do. They'd probably crucify me, you know, in the streets. All I really did was just sort of prance around in a bikini.
Your most iconic films was 1 million BC, and now with what they can do with dinosaurs in movies, would you want to be in like a Jurassic Park or something?
Why?
Good answer.
But many more films capitalizing on her body beautiful followed.
Eh bien, nos caméras sont installées pour une réunion exceptionnelle. Mais maintenant, revenons sur le terrain où le départ de la première va être donné prochainement, comme vous savez. Welch nous réserve sûrement des surprises très agréables.
Tonight, she's steamed up the screen.
May I come aboard?
But obviously, you are expected.
I must have overlooked my invitation.
Sirotkin's secret. He expects the unexpected. Mehmed.
Yes, master.
We will not be disturbed for 20 minutes. Wait. Perhaps half an hour.
The promo for this one said, "Feast your eyes on the fathom." Unfortunately, she was called on to do everything but act. The accent was on the physical. Skydiving, swimming, bullfighting, all in rather revealing costumes. By this time, Raquel's exquisite face and figure had aroused the libido of every red-blooded American male, and that led her directly to the film Bedazzled, in which she was aptly named Lust. Stardom was one thing, but typecasting was another.
Would you help me with my buttons? I seem to be off thumbs this morning. I find clothes so constricted. We must allow our pores to breathe. Oh, that's better. Can you hear my pores breathe? Listen. Would you like a nibble?
Oh, Dudley was great. You know, one of the great comedians. See,
You talk to him at all, or?
Oh, I did see him after he got so seriously ill. We all saw him at this party that his agent threw for him. And there were a lot of people there. I think Blake Edwards came, and Bo Derek was there, and so many people who had worked with him. And Dudley was just one of the most adorable, cute, sexy guys you'd ever. Oh, and so funny. Well, we did Bedazzled together, and that was the famous thing where, you know, I sort of, good morning, Mr. Moon. Hot buttered buns. It was all too silly, but fun.
Dudley Moore?
Dudley was adorable.
I wouldn't have thought he was tall enough for you.
Well, I don't think he thought he was right for me or that I was right for him either, but he was adorable.
I
don't remember that.
Oh, I do. I've seen pictures.
I don't remember that. I don't remember we kissed at that time. And RJ never told me that. I said, what did we do in that movie? I don't remember it very well.
The beautiful Raquel Welch. Inside and out, she is beautiful. So tell me the Vittorio De Sica story.
Well, Vittorio was working with me on a movie, and he's a fantastic director, and I was very self-conscious. And he came to me one day and he said, Raquel, why do you try to change yourself? I said, well, I want to be perfect. You know, people are watching me, and I want to talk right, and I want to move right. I want everything to be right, and I want to... And he says, but darling, the defect is so important.
Oh, I like him. Because that's what makes us original and unique, too.
And I thought, oh, he's so right.
Yeah.
I always wanted an uppy nose, but I have a downy nose. Now, if I, you know, I always wanted this, I wanted that about myself to be different. I wanted my voice to be registered down here.
Oh, I've always wanted to lower my voice.
All these things, you know, you think about yourself. And this is the thing that's happened now with the complex of plastic surgery, is we find these funny little things that we hate about each other.
Get rid of it.
About ourselves. And then we go and fixate on it, and then we decide we're going to change that, and it ruins
the entire look of your face.
Thing.
Right.
You know.
I was intimidated by my own image and frightened by it, but I took advantage of it, sure.
It's not easy to do a commercial and look out at Raquel Welch.
That would tend to do it.
Attractive lady.
She probably is the biggest, she probably doesn't like this word, sex symbol in motion pictures today.
She doesn't like it. I understand she doesn't like that.
Oh. Well, I mean, that's what you would normally say, wouldn't you? I mean, she's gorgeous, but she's done motion pictures where her, you know what I'm trying to say is...
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
It is not...
I just assumed you wouldn't say it.
No, it's not necessary to be unclothed.
No.
To be an actress and to be acceptable.
Right. She's wearing plenty of clothing tonight, and she still looks awful good to me.
Easy, Tiger. She on her way to London. Uh-oh, here she comes. No. She's just come back from Dallas, where her most recent film, Bandolero opened. No, that plant did me in. That crazy man with his plant. I don't know. I just shouldn't say that the man is crazy. Unusual.
The plant is shaky.
The plant is a little weird. Here she is. Raquel Welch. You look like you're entered in the cheer whiteness test. This dress is much whiter than dress B. Remember those?
Actually, what?
Last time you came here, you had a miniskirt. Yeah. I remember that was the end to all miniskirts, and tonight almost a complete turnabout.
Yes, that's not significant in any way.
It isn't at all? That's very pretty.
No, I just came from Dallas, and this was the dress I had with me for the premiere.
She appeared in a variety of roles, but almost always as a sex pot.
From here to south is the Territorio Bandolero.
What's that, Territorio Bandolero?
Bandit country. They kill every gringo they can find.
You don't look too worried.
I am not a gringo.
You say the sheriff's always wanted you?
He is a good man.
I reckon he's got you all to himself now.
He's a good man, but I feel nothing for him. Why do you laugh?
I was just thinking, we'd make a perfect pair, you and me. I'm broke without a woman, and you're rich without a man.
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin.
Well, yeah, Dean was a doll.
There's a fabulous picture in here of you and Dean.
Yeah, well, you know, I was this, when I was a little girl growing up, you know, Dean Martin was like just this fabulous crooner, and then I got to do this movie with him and Jimmy Stewart at the same time, and I was just so, I hit the jackpot, you know. I thought, oh my goodness, you know, where did I go right? and then, you know, he was my love interest. So, I mean, and he was just the height of cool. That's what I loved about him. He was not a grandstander.
And very mellow and smooth.
But the thing that was interesting about him is even though he didn't come on strong and kind of like, you know, some of the, you know, some Italian men that we know that may sort of swashbuckle around a little bit.
Yes, I'm with the Italian Sicilian now, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
And he always had this kind of quiet power, and people would come to him.
Yes, yeah.
So everybody would gravitate to Dean because he wasn't going to you. He was, and you just came to him because he just could wait there like the king.
Spending time with mean?
I sort of set a category about all the famous men I'd had, you know, spent time with while I was working and getting friendly with them. And if you hang out, you're on location, you know. But I made it a kind of like little multiple choice quiz, like out of all these guys, which ones do you think were irresistible to me?
Yeah, you asked that question.
Yeah, because I don't believe in kiss and tell anyway. You know, it's just tacky.
I would think Elvis would have been irresistible to you.
You know.
And Dean Martin, too, because I think Dean Martin would have been so fun.
Well, they were all interesting in their own ways, but actually those two guys love, but not, no.
That was not the one, okay.
Not the whole, you know,
okay.
The whole nine, not the whole enchilada.
Enchilada.
He's worked with James Stewart, and we go to Cleveland for some calls for Raquel Welch. Hello.
What was it like working with Jimmy Stewart and Dean Martin in Bandolero? Any recollections?
Oh, yes. You know, the two greatest guys in the world, so different, but really just both of them so cool. I mean, Dean Martin, you know, just charm and laid back kind of great guy. My idol, Jimmy Stewart, when I was growing up, I mean, for an actor, I used to be transfixed with the way he used to stumble and mumble and make everything seem like it was the first time ever he said it. And to think that I was working, I was so green, and I was just come back to the United States after my big sex symbol doodah. And, you know, I couldn't believe that I was in a movie with Jimmy Stewart. And he taught me a great lesson because we had, of course, all our scenes out on the set, but at the end of the day, there'd be fans waiting for us outside as we come through in our cars. We'd get to our trailers, and there'd be all these people there behind the ropes. And I was always trying to find some way to sneak out. And he said, "No, Raquel, you know, don't do that." And I said, "But Jimmy, you know, I don't. I mean, I'm tired." And you know, he says, "Raquel, you know, you don't understand. Those people. Those people are the ones that buy the tickets. And they love you, and you should stick around and sign your name, for God's sake." And I thought, I guess I've been told. And I never forgot that. I thought, you know, he's so right. You should be gracious. You should accept that. That's part of the thing.
What it must be like, though, to work with someone you watched as a kid.
Oh, I mean, I was totally in awe of him. And the planes used to come over while we were shooting these scenes, and he had to cry. And he never used to even, you know, he never used to even blink. They'd ruin a shot, and the tears would just flow the next time, just like nothing. Nobody came with glycerin. Nobody came with little things, you know, that you blow, you know, you go, and they blow little menthol into your eyes, and then the tears start. And I just thought, oh my God, I am seeing something now. I am seeing, you know, a master. How in the world, and not an ounce of effort. You could never see him fret or moan or complain or anything.
Can you objectively look at some of your older films and just, you know, admire the work?
No, cringe is mostly
really? Because that was a fun movie, actually.
Oh no, really? I saw this movie that's quite a while ago. I think it was last year sometime. A movie I made with Frank Sinatra. I think it was called Lady in Cement.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this movie, and I'm thinking, what the hell has she got on? And then, at one point, I had this epiphany, and I said, "Oh, she's an alcoholic. I didn't know that." How could I miss that? How could I miss that? I think I was just so enamored with Frank Sinatra, you know. He's like hypnotic, you know, you just go.
Frank Sinatra.
And Frank Sinatra.
And speaking of that, how about Frank Sinatra?
Well, you know, Frank was just so charismatic. I mean, I was just had a total crush on him.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We were in Miami making this movie called Lady in Cement, which should have remained in cement. It should have been dropped to the bottom of the ocean somewhere and stayed there. But I mean, I wouldn't.
You got
who
to
could
play with
turn
Frank.
down?
Yeah.
You know, working with Blue Eyes.
Some for the road, huh?
Are we going steady now?
Since 4 o'clock this afternoon. What time is it now?
Sometime before 3. I think it's about time. You got some chili on your pretty dress.
Yeah. Your place or mine?
I got a crazy spot remover. Buenas noches, Paco.
Well, shall I scream rape now or wait and phone in a complaint?
If you're asking me, I'd rather you press charges.
International sex symbol.
Burt Reynolds.
First time I saw her, I thought she's a wow. You can turn to jello if you don't watch yourself.
How about Burt Reynolds?
Oh, I love Burt.
Yeah, great sense of humor, right?
He's got a great sense of humor, and I really think the man has a heart of gold. He really does.
Okay.
He's got a softness there. He's got a very compassionate quality.
Nice to know.
If he feels like anybody's vulnerable or, you know, insecure or anything, or they might be getting a bad rap somehow in the way they're being treated on the set, he's just right there.
He's there for you. He's a cheerleader. That's nice to know.
He's great.
Burt Reynolds, Peter Sellers.
For all the bad things I have said to you. I give you this. No! 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 Please, not like this! Not with you.
You also did a historic movie. You made, I mean, the movie wasn't great, but 100 Rifles, you did an interracial love scene with Jim Brown. That's the first such scene in a major studio film.
Yeah.
It was in 1967, almost unheard of.
Yeah, that was quite a different kind of thing to do at the time.
And there we see it. Now, did you know you were doing something historic here?
I didn't know I was doing something historic. It was a little surprising to me that, you know, well, everything that Dick Zanuck asked me to do was surprising. He called me up and he said, Raquel, I've got this great part for you, and we want Jim Brown to play the love interest. And I said, isn't he a football player? And then he said, God, he is the #1 greatest running back of all time. And I said, right, okie dokie. Well, you know, is he, you know, does he do acting? And so, you know, I had to be kind of sort of convinced. But I kind of, you know, I didn't know it was going to be groundbreaking, but I did have...
Looked rather intense here.
Well, it's the scene from the movie. That's what it is.
When it got a lot of attention, right? I mean, a movie that made people ran to see it.
I guess so. Actually, it wasn't a bad film. I don't know why you said it wasn't any good.
Was it?
Burt Reynolds was in that movie with us, too, and Tommy Grise directed it. As I recall, it was quite well done.
Did you get any criticism for doing it?
No, I didn't really. No, I think, quite frankly, I would like to say that it was like a big, you know, courageous thing for me to have done. I mean, it didn't feel that way to me personally.
From, you know, bigots.
No, not at all. Nobody said a word. And I think it was almost a safe thing to do then, because that was very much when the Black Panthers and much of the black movement had a lot of sympathy in this country and around the world. And I feel that for most young Americans, we felt that was long overdue, you know, to have a kind of
about time.
A kind of an understanding that people were people and that color should come second or race should come second and all of those things. So I don't know how courageous it really was, but I know now because actually Spike Lee was doing something on Jim and he asked me to come and talk to him about the experience. I know now that in a way it was more groundbreaking than I had realized personally.
Did you like Jim?
Yeah, I do like Jim, but you know,
He's his own
Jim
man.
is Jim, and Jim, you know, he has his thing, you know, that he brings.
A little macho. Good guy, though. He's a good guy.
He's done a lot of very good things, and he's
Sure.
certainly an excellent football player. And whatever little differences we may have had, we have, you know.
Oh, you had to.
We had, you know, buried all of that. We had nice little.
Did he like you?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Well, read whatever.
You don't have to ask Jim that question.
Everything I've ever heard is that you're temperamental and that a lot of times you come in and you push people around and that you're tough. I've seen none of that. Well, where did you get that We'll talk about it when we come back.
Back with the fabulous Raquel Welch after this.
I don't think it's an unfair question. I just read it.
No. No, what about being temperamental?
Yeah, temperamental.
Oh, yeah, sure. No.
Is that your answer?
No. I take exception to the fact that I ever push people around. I really do not ever, and never have ever done that. But in fact, I'm particularly nice to the people who are working with me because I have to depend on them for everything, and they are the people who really are.
You were very
the
nice to our lighting man this morning.
Yes.
So.
But the whole point is that I think that maybe sometimes I was perceived as temperamental simply because I have the word no in my vocabulary. People say, you're going to do this, and you say sometimes, no. And you have to, because if you
now,
just go along all the time.
That is the hardest thing for me to do.
To say no?
It's the hardest thing.
It is very difficult, and people don't like that word.
No, they don't. No, they don't like it. Someone's looking
but
at it. But
sometimes it's the most positive thing that you can do for yourself, because you can't always make things the way you want them. You can't always make the situations around you, yes. You can't make them the kind of ways that you want them. But you can say, no, if that's the way it's going to be, if it's going to be like that, then maybe it's better for me not to be a part of it. So no. And you have to do that sometimes for your own protection. I think sometimes it's a very positive thing to do. If you don't stand up for yourself, who the hell else will?
I wanted to ask you a question. When is the last time you said no? When is the last time you had to say no?
I haven't said no in a long time because I'm really a pushover.
Okay.
Easy or not, Raquel has appeared in countless movies. Raquel Welch, a world-famous sex symbol. By the end of the decade, she had nearly 20 films to her credit.
Speaking of movies, there was a time where you did a lot of movies, and I can't even remember the names of all of them, and people sort of didn't give you the credit as an actress that you certainly have now proven that you deserved. Was that a difficult time for you?
Yes, I think it was difficult to work all the time and hope that, you know, people would love what you do, and then find out that they went, so what? You know, and it was kind of hard. And I think more than that, it was the critics really try to take the mickey out of you if you were a glamour girl, because they just never get tired of this same old samba that they do, that every time that there's a pretty face, whether it's Bo Derek or Daryl Hannah, whoever it is, that they have to discount any other qualities that you may have.
But you're obviously pretty smart.
Well, I haven't changed. I think I was always fairly together, but people don't... that doesn't help sometimes, you know. It doesn't help to be smart. In fact, sometimes it helps to be a little stupid. and I wish at times I
Why do you say
behaved a lot dumber than I did. Well, because...
It threatens people,
It threatens people, and also because sometimes you see things and are aware of and are sensitive to things that other people don't see and are not sensitive to. So they sort of lollygag around, have a great time of it, and everybody's happy as a clam, and then you come along and you say, oh, well, what about that? And why is this happening? And I've got an idea. And they go, oh, my God, please, you know, do we need this?
They say she's so temperamental, and she's, you know, and she's uncontrollable.
She's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, she's a pain in the ass.
So this kind of thing, yeah, of course.
Did that hurt you? Were you the kind of person who always wanted to? Because a lot of people were raised, I know I was one of those people who were raised where the most important thing is you wanted other people to like you no matter what. And so you try to avoid confrontation at all costs, and you try to be nice to people, even though you know sometimes they're doing things that are not in your best interest.
Well, I was raised a little differently than that, because my father was a perfectionist, and he gave me kind of a monkey on my back that said that mediocre is not good enough. If it's good, maybe it can be better. And just all the time try to do the very best you can. so, yes, of course I wanted to be liked, but what hurt me more than anything was to see that something could be done a little bit better, or maybe really fantastically, but it wasn't because people just wouldn't go for it.
You know what I call it?
And that kind of
it
thing.
happens a lot in life where people are, I say, they're treading through life when they really could be doing the breaststroke. You know? Do you know what I mean?
I'm trying to.
You sort of tread and tread and tread instead of really getting out there and going for it, you know? Back in a moment with Raquel, and our audience gets the same aspect in a moment.
There was a director who was quoted as saying, you have a chip on your shoulder when you arrive at work because you're afraid you're going to get shafted.
When it starts out, I always think it's going to be terrific. And then maybe the disillusionment starts setting in at, you know, at different junctures along the way. I would sort of be alive with enthusiasm and come up to the director and talk about the scene and what I had planned, and was I on the same track as he was, and what all about the motivations of the character and kind of things that I felt about something, and they would just look at me like I was crazy. They'd say, oh, roll their eyes to heaven. It's like, oh, she wants to be an actress, you know. And I was always kind of insulted about it, I must tell you. I always thought, I mean, if that's what you meant by a chip on the shoulder, yeah, I was insulted about it. Yeah, I have enough personal pride to say, hey, wait a minute.
You have said of yourself, I'm never easy, and I never will be.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not a simple person. I think that you have to respect that process in yourself and other people and be indulgent of it if you're going to be in a creative business. Otherwise, get the hell out and go clock in and do nice little neat things with yourself and your life. Maybe that'll be very happy for you, but I'm not like that. I can't be neat.
I am perpetually unhappy. I'm always worried about my work. Everything must be perfect or I'm unhappy.
I think I used to be more that way, but it's true that I do fret a lot and worry a lot over my work before it happens.
Yeah.
Always before. And then when I'm actually in the process of doing it, then it always goes pretty fine. It really actually goes along quite well, but it's the anticipation and the planning period that makes me a worrywart. You know, makes me sort of, And I think it's because the planning stages are the most important. If it's well planned, if there's a good foundation, then you're going to be home free. You'll be able to ride and you'll be able to fly. You won't be able to do it if the whole bottom ground isn't solid.
You have a reputation of being difficult.
Not really. In some circles,
Yeah.
but not everywhere.
Yeah. Why?
Well, why does anybody? I mean, you can't please everybody all the time. I think there are quite a number of people I do please. And I think I'm very much a perfectionist and quite demanding. But I'm worth it.
Why did you go into analysis?
Just because I came to that point in my life when I was really unhappy with myself. Because at that particular moment in my life, I was very devastated by the fact that people would not accept me on more than one level, in my work, in my personal life, in the world. And I began to accept other people's impressions of me, or what I thought they were, through just even reading, you know, as a rather bad thing. And I began to hate myself.
Did you really think of yourself as a silicone Barbie doll, as the walking tall Coke Marlboro woman, as you said?
I have always felt that because I was a sex symbol, I was being treated something like an ex-con, you know, that I could be let out on parole, but you never knew when I was going to goof up a little and have to come in and slap me around again. That's the way I felt, that I was being penalized, because nobody approved of the way of the way I was, that I was, in fact, a sex symbol, a sex object. And I didn't have that in perspective, and I began to be very ashamed of it. And I felt a sense of shame, a sense of apology. It's a superficial thing, but only because I'm a target. I sometimes feel like a female Frank Sinatra. I mean, I've got a little bit of a Latin temper, but I mean, I'm no great monster, and I just get, you know, I'm always being written up as some awful damn thing.
Why?
I don't know, it's fun for those people.
But why does their wrath settle on you?
Well, I once said in Rolling Stone that being a sex symbol is something like being an ex-con. You know, they lock you up because you made it the wrong way, and that's not legit.
And then they let you out on parole. But they're always worried you're going to mess up somewhere, you know. And they can pull you back in and say, see, we knew you were going to mess up somewhere.
Did the criticism hurt you?
Of course. Devastated me. It did, truly. Yes, it did. Yes, I wept many a real tear, not in front of the cameras. I've not liked the meanness, the pettiness, the jealousy. I haven't enjoyed that. I haven't liked being as frightened as I was and unsure of myself as I sometimes was. I haven't liked being a target. I haven't liked being a scapegoat.
You know, we talk about in Hollywood kiddingly and not so kiddingly about that famous casting couch.
Yes, Rona, you're trying to indicate that I have slept my way to the top.
No, I'm not trying to, but you have tried to make that life was, you know, really kind of 1, 2, 3, and you and I both know better.
I've really run into a minimum of lectures, you know, I mean, and they're you know, that you can have that in the IBM office.
Rumor runs rampant so often that when you are a beautiful person, especially somebody like yourself, they never want to think of you as really, you know, sex goddesses and sex symbols are just beautiful creatures to look at, but they never really have any brains. They're thought to be vacuous human beings, and therefore they only think of you in terms of lechery.
I must tell you that that has not, I mean, there have been a couple of experiences with people who have, you might say, tried to hit on one, but I mean, that's been happening since high school, and you turn those people, you know, if you are going to turn them away, you turn them away the same way you do the high school kid that tries to get fresh.
I remember one of the great Raquel Welch legends, or one of the Pitts legends, was Myra Breckenridge, that you were really a man. That the great irony was that America's sex symbol was really George Franklin, or something like that. How do you respond to that kind of stuff, or do you?
Students was a classic stage lab delivered so as to give the impression that the subject has been hit very hard in the mouth. It was first developed by Patricia Collins in The Little Foxes, 1941. Oh, thank you for the demonstration, Uncle Buck.
What was the film, what do we have for her, Bob? What was the film that was based on a controversial book written by Gore Vidal in which Raquel starred? Myra Breckenridge's group for
Is Myra Breckenridge?
Yes.
And then you went in several dozen films until Myra Breckenridge, about which Jay Cox in Time magazine, I guess, said you were terrific.
I wasn't bad in that movie, but the whole thing was stinko, and that's a fact. I reran it just to make sure, and I was right the first time.
And every time you take a look at it, you say...
She's recently completed principal shooting in one of the most unusual pictures of our time, Myra Breckenridge. She may well be the first human being eligible for an Academy Award as the best actress and actor, Miss Raquel Welch, right here. Say that's an amazing disguise, Myra.
Well, thank you, Roberta.
And by the way, I want to congratulate you on your Oscar-winning role in Myra Breckenridge, where you play a man. Huh? Is that right?
Thank you very much. But gee, do you really think I could win an Oscar?
Honey, if you can make anyone think you're a man, you deserve it, I want to say.
Hi, Raquel.
Hi.
So you know each other, you two? Now we do. Did you try to change your image from when you were younger and with the sexier image and Myra Breckenridge and all that? Did you consciously try to change your image?
From?
From like the little racier image maybe you had in your younger day to the
have I tried to change
to the
it?
intelligent, beautiful.
You're very kind. I think, yes, very consciously. I tried to, rather than change it, I tried to, let's say, open it up and make it bigger so that it just wouldn't be such a small little cage and I wouldn't feel like I couldn't move. That was all. I think a lot of people say we want to change our images, all us actresses, and it gets boring to hear about it. But all that we really want to do is just have a little bit bigger space so that we can kind of be human beings, and maybe as artists just do a little more variety of things, because it becomes boring for the spectator, who is a paying public, and it becomes boring for us after a while. Because I think it's important to make mistakes. I think it's important to make a fool of yourself from time to time.
Can you think of a time when you made a fool of yourself?
Oh, probably even as we speak. I think I'm a funny person, you know, and that I'm making a fool of myself a lot. It's okay. It's okay to make and be embarrassed, and it's okay to make a fool of yourself. You should take those chances. You know, I took a lot of chances, and sometimes I fell on my ass.
Like what?
From the very beginning. I took a chance saying I want to be an actress. I took a chance being a sex symbol. I took a chance doing all the things that I do. I mean, you can't be just... You have to take a chance to be yourself and be spontaneous. You know, people want to try to work it out, see, this very careful recipe, so that nothing bad happens to them, and so they do everything perfect. But it doesn't work out that way. Do you know what I mean? You have to take a chance and be willing to fall and fail and be foolish. I'm still...
You've always been open to anything, right? You're a girl who...
No, I'm not open to everything. No, I'm not. No, I'll take a lot of chances.
That's what I mean. You're a risk taker.
But I will take risks, but that's because that's the only way that has been sort of available to me in my life to, you know, to progress. Because if I didn't take risks, then I was not going to go anywhere.
In a chauvinistic world, you know, the story of the beautiful and voluptuous woman wanting to be known for her mind is almost a cliche.
I know it is. It's, you know, really kind of tacky, isn't it, at
but
this
do
point?
you find that, you know, that you have to scream out to people, wait a second, look at me, I'm real, I have a soul and a mind and...
Well, you know, when you introduced me as, I thought, as a real person, you're going to find out as a real person. I said, hey, am I going to have to come out and be a real person? I think I'll stick with sex goddess. That's easier, you know. It's a kind of a funny thing, because when you have a label, I mean, the problem is not changing the label, which is not what I really want to do, because I'm just not concerned with that much. But it's like trying to move left, right, up, or down from it. That's all. It's like a leash, you know. You want a little more rein to play with. And I'm not trying to say, hey, I'm a real person. I mean, man, you're going to meet me next door. I'm really the girl next door, and I'm adorable, and I cook and sew and everything, because, tell you the truth, I don't. I'm a pretty good mother, and I love my kids, but I can't claim to be all of that, you know, and I don't know that if I come off as a real person to people or not.
When I'm running around the world and being this sex symbol and having this big, you know, career in film and everything, you know, I'm running from place to place to place to place, and I couldn't always be with my children when I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And I would have governesses, of course, and tutors and this and that, but that's not the same.
Yes.
And, you know, eventually I could see that, you know, this was taking its toll on my kids, and it used to just break my heart.
Now, this is the question. Even when you were there, were you there, or were you really someplace else in your Raquel-ness? Because even when you were there at home, were you there for them? Were you present? Were you fully engaged with them, or was the Raquel-ness of your life so big?
I think I was often preoccupied.
That's what I
mean.
mean.
I could, you know, I felt loving towards them, and I would, you know, tuck them in. But it wasn't the same as being there for them as a mother 24/7.
Yeah.
You know.
How is your relationship with your children now? Because I'm sure they missed you as a mother.
You know, no fault of my own, but they're both great kids. They're people of character. They're wonderful. Everybody that knows them loves them, because they're just decent human beings. They're fun. They're smart.
How were you able to mend those fences?
I just started out realizing that I really needed to swim out to the wave. I needed to take a lot more initiative and just keep letting them know that I wanted to be there in their lives with them, that I had something I could offer to them. And little by little, you know, the disappointment or the lack of confidence they had in me in that area, melted away.
And
I always felt that my children gave me a kind of protective attitude toward myself. I don't think that women see children as a support of themselves, which they are. They give you a sense of yourself and a kind of respect for yourself and a kind of dignity, in a sense, about how you go about things, because you are their mother. I think that if I really had to say one really important factor, I think it was my children that helped me a lot. Really. Yeah. I think children are another stabling factor to a woman, particularly. And they kind of mirror what you are, and they kind of make you feel like you have a purpose outside of just being what other people may perceive you as being, or even outside of how you perceive yourself, because if you're a professional woman, you know, you tend to think in terms of what you've accomplished with work on any particular occasion, you know, what you've achieved with your career, your profession, and how's it going. But children, you know, love you unconditionally like a parent loves a child, and I think it gives you, you know, an immense strength, an extra strength.
Because I read of a time where Tawny, I think, was in a private school, and you went to school as Raquel Welch, and all your Raquelness.
I was just dressed like a young woman. You know, I had, like, tight jeans on and hip boots.
and it didn't go over so well,
right?
For
the parent-teacher meeting, you know.
Yeah, for the parent-teacher meeting. And so then, did you stop going to the parent-teacher meetings, or did you try to conform?
No, I just realized, hello, you know, reality check. You know, you're not just doing your thing, you know, you now have to change gears, because it's not all the same.
It's not all.
It's not all the same. This is, you know, you're representing their mother, and so that's a completely different thing than you're used to.
What, I mean, when you walk down the street, you know, are they looking at me for this, or are they booking me for this? Am I in this movie for me?
Well, I didn't really, you know, at that point when I was like the girl of the moment, I stayed away from walking down the street or going too many places. I was pretty agoraphobic at that point. I didn't leave my house much, because I just couldn't take the scrutiny, and I didn't know how to handle so much attention, too much attention for what I thought was
You got very famous.
not illegitimate, you know, it's like an illegitimate reason to have so much attention and fame and money and everything. You just think it's not right.
And all I do know is that I'm an actress. I love my work. I take it seriously when I'm working. But the rest of the time, I really have kind of a kick being me. I mean, I get a lot of attention backstage, you better believe it.
And you dig that. That's important.
Well, it's fun. I mean, what's the point of having dreams when you're a kid and then getting there, and it's all pain, you know, it's all the pits. And it's true, you know, because sometimes when you're a kid, you think that attaining the things that you dream about, being a movie star or being a great this or a great that will make you happy. And then when you get to be the great writer, the great lawyer, the big deal movie star, whatever, some rock singer or something, you suddenly look around and you're not any happier. And it's like, you know, you've been gypped or something, you know, something happened wrong here. And it takes a while after the first, I don't know, panic of being discovered and being successful to really just learn how to enjoy it. The fact that there'll be a lot of people who want to come up and have you write your name for them. Now, me, I mean, I've gone through the whole thing where, oh, for heaven's sake, you know, who wants a name and what is it, you know, and try to question all of that. But now I really enjoy it.
You're laying back. Okay, we'll talk some more about that when we come back.
Okay.
That's in a minute.
I do enjoy what I'm working in. I like to be an actress. You know, it's fascinating, it's challenging, it's a privileged opportunity, I think, to be able to communicate with so many people, and I think that I've left behind any kind of little girl complexes at some point earlier on, you know, and having achieved stardom, I then was given the task of what shall I do with it, you know, what...
Like maybe become an actress.
Well, yeah, why don't I... Well,
seriously.
Not just maybe become an actress, because I think that's not totally generous to say that I wasn't an actress in the beginning, but I just think that having achieved something that was a childhood dream, one wanted to really feel proud of what one was doing with this popularity, with the ability to be seen by so many people, and so one wanted to really entertain. I wanted to really entertain, really to do good work, and I think that that was always something that happened very much from the beginning. But once you are a star, then you have the other problem of, you know, how other people perceive you, so how will you continue to function within those perceptions?
When you looked at the mirror, what did you think?
Well, I never saw what was in it, to tell you the truth. I always only saw what it could be. Isn't that strange?
I found her really interesting, you know, and it's a friendship that's lasted 40 years. And she came last night to the show.
I'm in love. Life is a beautiful thing. As long as I hold the string, I'd be a silly so-and-so if I should ever let it go.
Although most of Raquel's films from this period were forgettable, she was still rated the top female box office attraction for 3 years in the late 60s.
And the future was less frightening than she thought.
You know, there have been several sex goddesses in our time.
Certainly have.
And long before there was Angie Dickinson or Bo Derek, there was
Jean Harlow.
There was
Marilyn Monroe.
there was you. And then there was you. See, it gives me an idea for a song. And you're nothing like Monroe. I never think of you as a lonely sex goddess, used, abused, bereft,
terrible,
and left alone.
I feel like people want that.
They like to think that...
Yeah, they want to believe that anybody who has enormous sex appeal or great beauty has this miserable existence. It makes them feel better.
Yes, there's something called the law of negative compensation.
Yeah,
they want
like
nature
that.
to
And
cause you to...
yeah.
Do you ever feel guilty about the fact that you're not suffering enough?
Certainly, I do, all the time. I think, why am I not more unhappy? People would like it so much better.
Yeah. But in a sense, seriously, folks, what do you see as the difference between you and the late Marilyn?
Must be joking.
No, really. I just wonder what it is that's kept you in line. Is it your background?
Am I in line?
Is it your... I think so.
I don't think I'm really in line. But I don't know. I don't like to compare myself with anybody, naturally, because I'm an actress. I have my own vanity, but that's beside the point. I don't think that there are many similarities between Marilyn and myself, other than the fact that she was called a sex symbol and I am called a sex symbol.
If you were sitting alone in a room with someone like Marilyn Monroe, just the two of you, what do you think you would talk about with her?
First of all, of course, we check each other out. And I like to ask her what was going on and if she really wanted to make that transition. That transition you have to make from being the young beauty, the sex symbol of the moment, that transition you have to make to go to the next stage. I don't think she wanted to go there because I've crossed the bridge. And you know what? The anticipation of crossing that bridge was so devastatingly scary. It's much, much worse than just crossing. Just taking the step and saying, I don't know if I'm going to get across this, but I am going to take these steps, damn it. And I'm going to see what's on the other side. The doing of it was much, much easier than the thinking about how it was going to be.
You go, girl.
Welch's popularity continued into the 1970s when Playboy magazine voted her the most desired woman of the decade. And Playboy later ranked Welch at number 3 on their list of the 100 sexiest stars of the 20th century. Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield were numbers 1 and 2. And that concludes the Playboy news portion of Turner Classic Movies.
You know, I see nothing wrong with being beautiful, but how about beautiful? And you can talk, and you can move, and you can feel, and you can play, you know, a whole human being. And that's all.
Raquel, I know you have to leave because you're catching a plane to go to London. You're going to be in London by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning?
Yes, I am. And then I'm going on from there to Spain. I'm going to start in all over again. It's really lunacy to run about like this.
Get my hat and go with you. Thanks for dropping by. We'll see you when you get back.
Okay.